This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I belong to you.
I belong to
You do just what you want. You're the one I trust. And I'll always be around when you need some love and baby. No one else.
Put you down. Sing all my melodies.
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is Series 3, episode number 3. The show is available live on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Ace Podcast Nation, of course, your home to many other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysts and more. So please do follow us on social media, subscribe to that YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications, never miss a show. And of course, if you like your podcast in audio form, we are now part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, which is the UK's first dedicated sports podcast network. You can find every show produced by Ace Podcast Nation, every series, including the Andy Campbell Championship Show, the Andy Campbell Football Show, exclusively on Sports Social, and they're all in, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. Of course, visit their website, sports-social.co.uk. The links are in the description. Give them some love. Tell them that we sent you. And as we continue to grow and build on the community which we've built within the shows, we have been supporting a charity, Super 6 League, raising money for two amazing charities. You've got Maggie Centre, which is a cancer charity, and Mind, which is a mental health charity. And we wanted to do a couple of shout outs. Top for last round on 14 points was Owain Jones. For the season, though, Gareth Price is currently top in the league with 34 points, followed closely by Franco Rankmore, Cohen Griffith, ex-Cardiff City striker, of course, Stephen Mayled, Owain Jones, and Craig Sullivan. But they make up the remaining places. We've currently got 89 players playing, which means there's over 534 in the £34 in the prize pot and £792 in the charity pot. It's not too late to enter. Help us raise some more money for two amazing charities and maybe win some cash for yourself. Compete, test your football knowledge against myself and a load of Cardiff City legends. Contact Will Melush on Facebook or drop a message to the show and we can put you in touch with him. Links are in the description to the Facebook group and everything. Will probably be in the live chat this evening. But we would love everyone to get involved and test their knowledge against the lads, as it were. And as we wait for a couple of the late stragglers, a big thank you to Black Diamond Sports, first of all, for all their help and support around the show. As usual, they are a tremendous help and support. They are a global sports agency who represents sports stars from around the world. And for more information, you can visit their social media pages and their website. Again, links below. Thank you to Darren Ralston and Bespoke Financial, who sponsored this week's show. Darren Ralston of Bespoke Financial, as ever, is giving away a free will worth £140 cash with any new policy which is taken out. So please do check him out. Give him a call. Do not miss out on what is an amazing offer. He's looked after Andy for many a year with the critical illness, the injury cover. They're truly top of their field. They provide award-winning service and we are proud to partner with such a top-class brand. We thank them for sponsoring the show. And breathe. That is a lot of talking from me, so let's pass over to my co-host, my buddy, including he is the goal collector, the fox in the box, still the king of the Millennium Stadium. Of course, he's David Jones's favourite son, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough hero, the speed demon, the goal machine, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, my friends.
Good evening. Good evening. Do you know what? I wish I hadn't got these comments on the side of my screen. Because I'm getting some stick, by the way. The other one just logged on. I look like a taxi driver. Great comments, by the way. Keep them coming. New haircut. I wouldn't really call it a haircut. Shaved this afternoon. One honest thing from me. I did forget the other night, by the way, to do my teams, which obviously everyone's alluding to. So obviously I got 0 points, which to be fair, I just did generally forgot. I thought it was Saturdays and Saturdays only, but I've learned from my mistakes because I had a good week at the weekend. So I'll put it down to experience, give everyone a chance to catch me up, and I'll be back stronger. Moving
stronger
forward.
than ever.
Yeah.
That's why I beat you this week. That's what it is. Too much pressure, Don says.
Yeah.
Too much pressure. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's a bit of fun, and it's for a good cause, as it were. So yes, indeedy, mate. So we're going to start the show as ever on a Friday with any other business. So this is the Championship Show, mate, as you well know. So we do generally keep it fully Championship, but we do have a little chat about some other stuff. But this week, in the Any Other Business, there is a lot of Championship news over the last day or two. Yeah. We've had Gary Cahill has signed for Bournemouth, which is obviously a fantastic deal. Very interesting one. You've had Junior Hoylett, ex-Cardiff City, he's gone to Reading. Borough has signed a striker from Billericay. Cardiff and Peterborough have been charged for a melee. Where to start, mate? Let's start with Cardiff and Peterborough's melee, and you tell me what you saw and what you think happened, and what you think of the punishments.
What I saw was a very naughty tackle by the Peterborough midfielder, who in 2021, by the way, following through with a follower through like he had, and then staying down. I'm not saying he feigned injury, by the way, but to stay down was a little bit naughty. He knew exactly what he was doing. And in 2021, it's a free kick the other way. So for Cardiff players to be, and let's be honest here. You know what I mean? The Aidan Flint ran 25, 30 yards to support his mate who was fouled. You know what I mean? Because Pack could have been seriously hurt, and that's the be all and end all. You know what I mean? We don't watch these games to see players intentionally hurt. I don't think he intentionally did it, but for me, I thought it was a little bit naughty. I wasn't massively impressed with it, and all I saw was Cardiff City's players back up one of their own, and for Cardiff to get punished, and for Peterborough as well to be punished. You know what I mean? Listen, you've got two sets of players who were backing up their own player, and yes, I saw handbags. I didn't see any punches thrown. I just think the FA sometimes find a way of punishing teams and getting money out of football clubs and for me, it was no more than the referee dealt with it really well. You know what I mean? Apart from the initial decision, which I thought he got wrong, I thought the referee dealt with the rest of it really well. He booked Flint, which was probably right. He booked another player, which is probably right at the time. But for me, it's dealt with on the pitch. Just forget about it. Don't have to have any repercussions unless the referee missed something, which the only thing in my opinion he missed was the initial tackle. But unless someone else thrown a punch and he missed it, which he didn't, and for me, just leave it there and just. Yes, warn clubs about future conduct, but for any more than that, for me, was just it doesn't need to happen.
What do you think of that from Riverside 2019 there? He says punishing certain teams while other teams seem to get off very lightly. Do you think there's any merit to that? It does feel a bit like that in the Championship sometimes. That
I agree. I agree. I won't probably say teams as in clubs. It's normally managers or players. You know what I mean? So yes, indirectly it's clubs, but it's you know what I mean. If that was the other way around, would it have been a free kick if Pack had gone through or Flint had gone through? Neil Warnock seems to get on the wrong hand of a few decisions. He's been like that throughout his career. Was that because he gives a little bit to officials? He's been like after Cardiff. It happened on Tuesday night at Middlesbrough. And this isn't me making excuses, by the way, why Middlesbrough got beat the other day. I'm going to talk about that later on. But I think sometimes managers are so passionate that fine decisions, and the fine margin ones can go against them because people just think it's the right thing to do. But it's about just being fair and doing the right decision. If it's the right decision, then you move on. And this is where VAR is positive, because VAR, you always get the correct decision. At the minute in the Championship, if the Cardiff Peterborough was VAR'd, I believe we would have had a different outcome. If the Middlesbrough game, for example, was VAR'd, I think you would have had a different outcome again. So it's just these fine margins, and when they add up towards the end of the season, I can understand how managers get really frustrated, because these are big decisions at crucial times in games and define moments in seasons, and it's disappointing. But listen, for me, no punishment needs to be made apart from the cards what we're giving out on the night, and that's it.
Well, like Donna, I think it was Donna said just there, like the referee has caused the melee by the way he's dealt with it. And I think what you got to understand is the Euros have just gone. They're fresh in everyone's mind. And one thing which was universally praised in the Euros was the referees and the use of VAR. Yes, there was one or two tackles where people were like, oh, that's maybe a bit soft red and stuff like that. But ultimately, because it was consistent throughout the tournament, people were generally all right with it. Now, we've come into the season, that tackle was way worse than anything we saw in the Euros. And it's not a red card. Never mind the fact that, those Cardiff players think their teammate could be injured. So you're going to have, emotions are running high. To me, I agree with you. There was no need for it to be anything further. But ultimately, I believe the referees caused the problem by missing
the thing is,
the red card.
He went for the Cardiff player straight away because he knew his reaction was going to be strong. For me, if he'd have gone to the Peterborough player, then the Cardiff players know that the referee's got the correct decision. And because he went to the wrong player, I think he's got the whole thing wrong, and he's caring more about the reaction than the tackle. You know what I mean? That tackle is a fair tackle, but the follow through was not fair, and the follow through is gone out of football. It's not allowed in football anymore. We've seen those serious injuries. We've seen red cards given in Europe and England now in Premier League. But
it's a red card.
I just think he's listen. He didn't need to do it. He won the ball. The follow through is a natural follow through, but not with the other leg. The other leg is a trailing leg, not another leg will go straight forward across the top.
So is that trailing leg? That's intentional follow. Like he can avoid that. To me,
it's a coward's tackle. It's a coward's tackle for me. Yeah, and it's a tackle. It's a tackle that I would have probably done back in the day because I couldn't tackle, and I'd do it because I didn't know how to tackle properly.
But that's not an excuse these days, is it? Like
no, it's not. Especially when a centre midfielder does it. A centre midfielder knows how to tackle and he knows how to hurt because they're trained to do so in combat in a game situation. And for me, I didn't like it, and I wouldn't have liked it if it was the other way. By the way, this is me with my Cardiff City hat on. This is me with my professional footballer hat on. If that was me and someone's gone through me and won the ball, good tackle. You go through me, win the ball, and go through me. That's not a good tackle.
So what about, again, Riverside there says, how do you take the follow through out if you're fully committed and at full speed?
Listen, that's difficult. It's a difficult one, but then you've got to refine your tackling technique, because if you're not allowed to do it, the referees more or less said that you're allowed to do it with not punishing the tackle. So if we're allowed to do it, then we're allowed to do it, and that becomes a good tackle again. Because back in the day, that was a good tackle, a strong tackle, and it got fans going, it got the crowd going. But
can you imagine some of the tackles we'll see this year, though, if that's allowed?
If it's getting stopped, if it's getting nullified out of the Premier League, then why is it allowed in the Championship? Because in the FA Cup it won't be allowed, in the Champions League it won't be allowed. It wasn't allowed in the Euros, so you can't just allow it in the Championship.
All sorts of problems, mate, created by one decision, and because they've then charged the players, it's almost like it's saying that's okay.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's a problem.
It's a grey area because we've got no VAR, so he can't go back through his decision because the moment got dealt with on the pitch. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah. Very quickly, James Costley says, "What about Harry Wilson's red?"
Listen, you get moments. Attacking players make some crazy decisions, and like I've just said there, I got sent off a couple of times by saying the wrong things. Centre forwards and attacking players don't know how to deal with moments and tackles and things like that, and lash out in silly moments. And it's more of a regret for me that Harry Wilson's going to miss game because of a red card, because he's too good to get stuck in those kind of moments. You know what I mean? And he's not that type of player to be getting himself unnecessarily sent off, and because that has an impact on Fulham, and they're on fire, by the way. You know what I mean? So he's going to have an impact if he doesn't play the next game because of his red card. Then it's his own stupid fault, and that's my biggest.
He started so well as well, isn't he?
Yeah, listen, he was the best player on the pitch against Middlesbrough. I thought the second game he was under control. I think Fulham is starting to just get a little bit better and better every single game. You know what I mean? Especially attacking wise. I thought Mitrovic was is back to his normal self. And if you've got Harry Wilson being able to have that supply, but you need to be on the pitch to supply. And I've said all along, Harry Wilson is wasted on the bench, but he's not even going to be on the bench. He's going to be sat in the stand. So he needs to get his discipline sorted out, because what he can't afford to do is this carry on and get a reputation for it, because referees, like we just said, players get remembered by referees for certain moments, petulance and crazy decisions. And for me, he doesn't need to do it.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. I just noticed Gavin has entered the live chat. I just want to say very quickly, apologies to Gavin. I was supposed to take the T-shirt to him from the Euro sweepstake on Monday, and I left it at home. And then since Monday, I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to take it over. So I do apologise, Gav. I'll get that to you as soon as I can over the next couple of days. But as it's been a busy week, but I do apologise profusely. Interesting question here from Reese. Says, Andy, when you were a player, if you criticise the FA and you get a fine and a warning, once you retired, are you allowed to openly criticise them?
As a player, you're not allowed to openly criticise, because you'll get done with ungentlemanly conduct, or a fine, or a longer punishment, as in a suspension. As a player, I've got no affiliation with the FA. So I'm giving my opinion to what I saw at the weekend. I'm not slagging off the FA. I'm saying that one of the officials made a really poor decision during a game situation and needed some help from either officials or VAR. You know what I mean? VAR's not there, so he needed some help from someone else, because he got a decision wrong. And it wasn't a big decision; it was just a decision in a game. And for me, that's just, it is what it is, and this is human nature, and it's because we've got VAR all around the world. Then for me, the Championship needs it probably bringing in terms of this league, and some of these games could have a defining moment that stops the club getting promoted for £100 million, because this is how big these moments could be at the end of the season. And what you can't afford to do is allow this to happen week in, week out, because referees are human, of course they are, but in the Premier League they're allowed to make these mistakes because they get put right straight away.
He says, as an ex-player, are you allowed to criticise them? Well, I suppose, like, once you're an ex-player, you can do what you want, can't you?
Yeah, do what you want. Yeah, listen to that. There's certain things that I think the FA have done really well. And I think there's certain things that they're getting massively wrong still.
Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff they're doing wrong, though, mate, seems to revolve around the Championship and the Football League, in my opinion. And that's I
don't think we're all aligned. I don't think we're all aligned, and I think and I see the Championship as a Premier League too. I see it that big. You know what I mean? You just spoke about Gary Cahill signing. He's a Premier League. He's an England international footballer. He's a Premier League footballer his career. He's got to Bournemouth because Bournemouth have an aspiration to get the Premier League. And for me, the Championship should be shown as a Premier League too, because of the money which is involved, as in the direct link to the Premier League, because he's that big. And for me, they're not aligned, and they haven't been aligned for so long. If they got aligned, I think it would show a little bit more respect and just show how big this league could be, because it's a huge league. And I think we're showing that with the performances, with the goals, with the games that are happening, and the players which are involved in the league. It's a huge league.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because you can't. I don't think you can fairly compare the Championship to any other second tier in the world, like, because I feel like all the other second tiers are genuinely second tiers, whereas the Championship, like you say, is more like a Premier League too, and there's so much money involved in going up and down that it's vital that these decisions are right more than they're wrong. So yeah, it's unfortunate, mate. Few signings. You mentioned Gary Cahill, Junior Hoylett to Reading. I think that's a good pickup for them. Juninho Bacuna, sorry, mate, is gone from Huddersfield to Rangers. And also just announced from Fulham have signed striker Rodrigo Muniz from Brazilian Serie A side Flamengo for an undisclosed fee on a 5-year deal. He's 20 years old. That's an interesting one because he's
listen. There's going to be some moves in the next 11 days. I think it's going to be extraordinary. I think it's a great move for Bakuna. I know he's obviously leaving the Championship to go to Rangers. I think it's probably the kind of player that they need. He's good on the right hand side. He scores goals. He creates chances. He's got pace. He's had a really good season last season. I think Gary Cahill for me is a standout signing for Bournemouth, especially the players you've just said. I think he's absolutely brilliant, fantastic. I think he'll be a big link, what they need to help them push forward. They've had a couple of good results this week already in a couple of big away games. But Junior Hoylett, probably a better move than I imagined. I thought he might have probably gone MLS and gone back home to Canada maybe. I thought it might have been a natural progression for him, but he's decided to stay in the UK and go to a very good club who's always in and around the playoff areas, and there's no one more experienced than Junior to help a football club progress through and potentially get in the playoffs. You know, he's been there, he's done it, he's wore the t-shirt. So good luck to him. Hopefully he's a success because he's had a fabulous career, and hope he can continue it. He's a good lad off the pitch and an even better player on it, in my opinion, and hopefully he can carry on. Obviously, Middlesbrough signed a youngish player, 23, from Billericay Town. Middlesbrough have a tendency to get the odd gem out of non-league football. They did it with Lewis Wing. If that's one of those, fantastic. Does it excite the Middlesbrough fans? Probably not. But if he does the job on the pitch and gets goals, then fantastic. But you know what I mean? It's all about results, and I can see why Bournemouth fans are excited today, and probably Middlesbrough fans aren't as excited because the level of players that the clubs are looking at is difficult. But it's for me, it's just about getting results on the pitch, and if my clubs, everyone else's clubs can start to do that, because it's such a tough league, such an interesting league. Everyone seems to be able to beat anybody. It's brutal. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible and great at the same time.
Well, Asena, who's signed from Billericay Town to Middlesbrough, like Warnock said, basically, well, to quote him, he said, "I wanted to give him an opportunity. I watched him play, and I just had a hunch." Now, Neil Warnock, very, very experienced. So he's seen something that makes him think that Ollie Asena can make that jump from the National League South to the Premier League 2. Okay? Yeah. It's a massive jump. Let's be realistic. Borough, like you say, they've picked the odd non-league gem. They bring through young players very well. But I'm sure Middlesbrough fans were probably hoping for someone with a bit more experience, maybe someone who's going to grab them the goals to progress from last year. It's a risk-free signing, though, isn't it? At the end of the day. Oh,
listen, it's a cheap option, and maybe it's just that's the way the football club's needing to go for now. But listen, I hope it works out. I hope it's a gem, and he can be sold on, or he can push the club to another level. Because if anybody gets the opportunity, by the way, go on Middlesbrough social media and have a look at the lad's interview, because the lad's interview is absolutely fantastic. He sees this opportunity as a golden ticket in his words, and that's fantastic. Because you know what, these opportunities for these young players and for people like him at that level don't come around very often. And if they do, you've got to be ready to snap the hands off. And you know what, I hope he does it for himself. I hope he does it because he's obviously one of my football clubs, and I really hope that he can do it for himself, because Jamie Vardy, all these other non-league players, Ian Wright of this world, who've done it and come through the non-league scene. There is some gems out there. It's just finding the time in the scouting network to be able to have the time to go and watch them regularly and make sure that they're the right fit for the club, and that
it's having the guts to do it, though, mate, as well. And I think that's the thing I like. Of
course it is. And you know what? Neil's been there, wore the t-shirt. He normally goes down his experienced players route, but he's gone down this year. Well, the thing is, I'm going to talk about Middlesbrough later on. It's not Neil Warnock's style of playing philosophy seems to have changed this year, and his timing, his signings seem to be a little bit different as well.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to watch how Middlesbrough do, because you don't see many very experienced, proven managers like Warnock suddenly change their philosophy. And I noticed that some of the players he's signed have been quite young. You know, obviously Sol Bamba, though, is exactly the sort of player which he would get. But interesting, mate, nonetheless. I just wanted to also make mention, before we move to the Championship, of Dennis Law, who this week announced he's been diagnosed with 2 types of dementia. Obviously, there was a statement released by Dennis and his family, as well as the charity Head Change, which is helping out ex-footballers with difficulties with dementia and other things linked to playing. But obviously, it's a terrible thing, terrible shame, and really upset to hear that and to find it out. Unfortunately, it does feel like every couple of months, another ex-footballer, another ex-hero is kind of announcing that they've been diagnosed with some form of dementia. I've got to be honest, I do really think that it's linked to the balls. And of course, the style of play was so much more physical back then. Elbows and shoulder barges and things which rock the brain were common practice. So
something's got to happen on the side, because until a recent or current player gets diagnosed with the same thing, then I'm not saying nobody's taking it serious, but for me, it's got to be taken serious because of the potential of it. Because and I've used him as an example before, and I'll use him again because I just noticed because he does it all the time. It's Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire heads the ball more than I've ever seen anybody head it. You know what I mean? He rises above people. He gets knocked. He heads heads. He heads elbows. He heads balls. He must do this in training as well, because it's not something you can just do on a match day. You do it every single day. You know what I mean? To be that good at it. You know what I mean? And he's the best header of the ball I've seen in probably all my career. He's that good. You know what I mean? And he heads it with power, distance, aggression. And is that in his mind? Is that in other players' minds? You know what I mean? Is that why heading has gone out of the game a little bit and people are overplaying and getting the ball down? And you know what I mean? I can't answer that because I've never been a player who's headed the ball. I used to hate heading it because it used to hurt. So, you know what I mean? For him to head it and do it the way he does, and it looks like he enjoys it, by the way. It must be.
Yeah.
He obviously does it very well, and it makes it look easy. But I used to hate it, I'll be honest. I used to really hate flicking the ball on because it would. That's why I've got no hair, by the way. It used to just skim off my flocks. And I just used to, you know what I mean? When I used to head it with my forehead, it wasn't a nice feeling, you know what I mean? So for him to keep doing it and doing it repetitively, it's fair play to him. But I'd love to ask him the question, or someone to ask him the question, and because it's just not a nice thing.
Well, when we had Charlie Barnes, who obviously plays for Carlisle United, young footballer, sort of very young footballer, really. When we had him on the Monday show, I think that was one of the questions that we put to him: is it something that's on your mind? Is it something that you're thinking about? And going off my memory, which is not always the best, I believe he said it's not something he's worried about or concerned about. And I mean, you know, that's from a young footballer, and of course, he's got numerous other things to be concerned with at this stage of his career. But I do believe that what we know about, like, I know I'm well aware that concussion and concussion syndrome is different to dementia. But what we do know is that prolonged shaking of the body and the head, like in American football, or just, it doesn't have to be physical, just your body and your brain being shaken in your head causes long-term damage, which you will not discover till later in life. And when you look back at those games in Dennis Law's era of playing, some of them were absolutely brutal. Of course, all the highlights you see are of all the fantastic goals. But if you really look and you look at the tackles that went in, the elbows that were flying, the bodies flying everywhere and bumping into each other, the weight of the balls being headed, and then when they got wet was even worse. I'd like to think that the way football is now physically and the way the balls are so light and they don't absorb water the same way they did, hopefully, and, you know, touch wood, that maybe we will, you know, maybe we won't ever see young footballers of now have the same issues later in life. I hope that's the case. I know, like, people from that charity and other places don't believe that to be the case. They think that it's, you know, the repetitive nature of heading from a young age. But then you look at Dennis Law as a player. You know, I wasn't fortunate to see him live. I watched videos of him. My dad told me all about him and about how he played. Not a massive header of the ball, so he's more of a ball to feet kind of player. So it's a difficult one. Craig mentioned, that's a great comment, by the way. That's an absolutely fantastic comment. You know what I mean? If you're paying £25 a ticket to go and watch your team, and I'll use Aidan Flint as an example because he scored two fantastic goals the other day with his head. If Aidan Flint pulls out of a header, a ball over the top, and
Peterborough score the third goal, what a fan's reaction is going to be? What's the manager's reaction going to be? What's his teammates' reaction is going to be? Yeah, it's just it's a mess in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think until
there's no way to do it, and
there's no definitive answer. There's no right or wrong way at the minute. You know what I mean? To risk every time a player does it, either putting himself at risk potentially. Whenever they go an aerial challenge, it's a very, very, very grey area at the minute, and I think the FA would probably be right in coming out and putting a few things in place to have random tests, brain tests, or
they should
things on a couple of players.
I think it's so difficult to pick up and things like this, but it is what it is. It's sad, mate. Unfortunately, just saw on YouTube, Gaz has put long term. Gaz thinks that they will just ban heading altogether, and he says sadly. I do think
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that would happen, and then we'd go down the route in football of everything's got to be below head height, and it's like I just can't see that happening. I just can't see it happening.
It just makes it difficult, doesn't it? Like if you ban heading, it's a weird one because it could still go over head height. I guess
it's hard, though, isn't it? Difficult, isn't it? In Flint, for example, and Harry Maguire, who are both serial headers of the ball, then
you take away so much of their game, don't you?
Well, probably 90% of their game. And I'm not being disrespectful, by the way, when I say that, because Aiden's got 2 goals with his head, so Cardiff would have lost the game because he wouldn't have been able to score those 2 goals. So I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if that's not the answer. I'm just thinking how difficult it would be to take something away, which is, I don't know. Do we use softer balls? Do we use things to protect? You know what I mean? Like
a couple of people have said like headgears, like pet checkered, or they use in rugby.
Is that your choice? Is it your choice to wear it? I just think we've got to be. Kelly says they're unrealistic. You've got to be realistic. I think that's my point. You've got to be realistic with the things that you've got to put in place, because these things you can't take away from professional football. It's like saying we're going to take tackling away because people keep getting serious injuries. Tackling is going to be there, and it's always going to be there. And we try to help tackling by taking away a bad tackle, but then we're still talking about it because a bad tackle still happens. The other day, it gets misconstrued with the way it happened.
Yeah, it's difficult, mate. Honestly, I don't know what the answer is. And Gaz wasn't, I don't think, saying that heading should be banned. He just, implying that it probably will.
At the minute, there's no right or wrong answer, and I'm not right. You're not right. Craig's not right. Kelly's not right. No one's right.
Let's not jump the gun, mate.
Nobody's right. I just wish we could all head the ball without thinking in 25 years' time that someone's going to potentially get dementia from it, which is just sad. It's sad, mate. It's one of those, you feel quite helpless with it, don't you? So we're gonna have to move on to the championship, mates, because we've got 2 lots of games to speak about. So I think we're going to go with the format we went with last week. Me and you will pick a game each from Saturday and a game each from Wednesday, and then we'll kind of talk about the rest of the games generally, because otherwise we'll be here for hours. So I'll let you go first, mate. What game from Saturday would you like to discuss? I'm gonna surprise everybody here, and I've gone for a 0-0 draw, and I've gone for Swansea against Sheffield United, because I watched it on Saturday evening, thinking I'm going to be really excited and really by the football on place. You know what I mean? Swansea play good football. Sheffield United got Premier League footballers, and I was so disappointed. It was absolutely scary. I thought the way that Swansea set up and overplayed. And this, by the way, if I've got any Swansea fans watching this show, please don't think that this is me having a slate on Swansea City because I'm an ex-Cardiff City player. I thought that the manager got so many things wrong. I thought he overplayed when he didn't need to overplay in his wrong areas. I thought the goalkeeper took so many risks, and he was very, very, very lucky that Sheffield United didn't score 2 or 3 goals. If James just said then, McGoldrick was poor. If Sheffield United had a decent centre forward and a confident centre forward on the pitch, they would have scored 2 or 3 in the first half comfortably. In the second half, I thought they were unlucky not to win the game. McGoldrick missed a good header. Sheffield United looked like they're lacking confidence to carry on from last season. Was it the right thing to do, bringing in a manager from League One? Only time will tell. I think there's a lot of pressure on a manager coming in to do a job and follow on someone's side who's done a really good job over the past 2 seasons, by the way. You know what I mean? 'Cause he's done a fabulous job, Cooper, before he's left. And someone who's coming in, sometimes the grass isn't always greener. You know what I mean? When you're comfortable in your job, do you sometimes have to move? Is it the right thing to move? Because if you don't do a good job, then someone else is going to come and take your job off you again, and you're going to lose it. And for me, it's a difficult one. But I thought it was a very disappointing game for 2 very good footballing sides who one overplayed in the wrong times. One just hasn't got started yet. Who's lost some good players in good areas. Sheffield United crying out for a centre forward. You know what I mean? You've got your Brewsters, your Ollie McBurney. You know what I mean? Who was sub, came on, didn't really have an impact on the game whatsoever against his former club. And for me, they need to give the head a shake because, as I'm not going to talk about them in midweek because we're going to go talk about a different game. But they got smashed by West Brom 4-0. So they've got a huge season ahead of them. Yeah,
and like what I would say with it, and again, it's nothing to do with my Cardiff allegiances. I said this to you off air, I think last week, or it might be in the week before, was if you're going to appoint an inexperienced or a League One manager or a manager from a lower league or a young manager, and you're going to take that risk, you can't just give them 12 months or 6 months. You've got to give them time to do things their way. And what I worry about is he doesn't seem to be settling. He's trying to play a certain way. The players aren't taking to it, or they aren't implementing what he's wanting to do, or they're not able to implement what he wants to do. So that's a bit of a clash. If they don't sort it out, he's going to be the one that takes the blame. But I watched them against Sheffield United, and I watched them the week before, or I listened to them on the radio the week before when I was out. And on the radio, it felt like almost every couple of minutes they were nearly conceding a goal by overplaying or playing in the wrong areas, the keeper taking risks. That's a problem. But that is a problem that can be dealt with pretty quickly.
I totally agree. Listen,
the manager's got to deal with it.
Can we just put Reece David Evans' comment up? And listen, this isn't me having a slate on them. They play some fantastic stuff. My point is, they're playing the wrong areas, and the goalkeeper doesn't need to play. If you play that football in the final third, I'm excited because you're going to create a chance, but you're going to score a great goal like Barcelona score and all these kind of people. My point with and if he's came out with a comment of the squad isn't fit enough yet, why aren't they fit enough? Because he was there in pre-season. Whose fault is it that they're not fit? That's my concern. How's a professional footballer not fit after pre-season? There's no excuse for that whatsoever.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. It's it's worrying. If I was a Swansea fan, I'd be worried because not just that they're not winning games, but they look like they could concede multiple goals, like every game, which is obviously a big issue in the Championship. So the game I want to talk about for Saturday is West Brom versus Luton Town. I have been so impressed with both these teams. Luton Town, particularly, mate, they have just taken to this season like they finished last season. They've been superb. Yes, West Brom was superb, as obviously, and they were 3-0 up, but Luton did 3-0 down. Still, they weren't dead, and they made a game of it in that last sort of 20 minutes. They scored in like the 8th minute of injury time, but that boost that fight back gave them enabled them then to go on and win on the Wednesday against Barnsley, which, I feel like, they've beaten Peterborough in the league. They drew with Stevenage and lost on penalties. Okay. I mean, that's the EFL Cup, you're resting players, all this. But in the league, Luton Town have been very impressive to me. West Brom look like they could do a Newcastle to me. They look very, very special. They've got
a very, very good manager who's riding the crest of a wave at the minute. You know what I mean? That he hasn't brought in many players. He brought in Mowat from his old club Barnsley. Small tweaks with a very good squad from last season, and so far so good. I don't think he could have had a better dream of a start what he had. You know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant so far.
Yeah, superb, mate. The other thing as well is with West Brom, they lost Pereira, who has been one of the best players
for 2 years.
He's been superb. So to lose him and still come out dominating teams the way they are in the first.
I think I said this last. I might have said it in on Monday about individuals not making or when teams lose individuals, sometimes it makes them a better team. And from what I've seen in West Brom in the last 3 games, is West Brom look like a better team without him in the side. But when he's in the side, he looks so exciting and things happened. At the minute, they just look like a breath of fresh air. And I don't know if that's the manager, if that's the style of player. But it looks like a very exciting time to be a West Bromwich Albion fan again.
Yeah, Craig says they brought in Moet, who is absolute
he's
quality,
brilliant.
and he's exceptional. What's the Wednesday game that you'd like to put a bit of focus on, mate?
I've gone to the Middlesbrough game because obviously I watched it in depth. I've been quite critical over the past probably 2 years of QPR. Warburton looks like he's turned the screw. He's brought in some very good players. I thought Middlesbrough were excellent in the first half. Probably should have been 2-0 up before they got the penalty after 7 minutes and got the penalty and went 1-0 up. I thought Middlesbrough were excellent in the first half. I thought they caused QPR numerous problems. But then the second half started and QPR were absolutely brilliant. Took the game to Middlesbrough, got an early equaliser through an own goal by Johnny Howson, and then they went down to 10 men. And that was a moment in the game, and I thought Middlesbrough were just going to walk the game. And maybe that was a bit of arrogance by me. Maybe the Middlesbrough players had the same mindset because QPR got at them, and they got at them, and they got at them, and Middlesbrough couldn't cope with them. And once they went ahead, and the Middlesbrough clawed them back, and then went back ahead, Middlesbrough just didn't have the answers for them whatsoever. The time management, the game management, saw the game off, time waste when they needed to, put the ball into good areas when they needed to. It was absolutely brilliant. And one question I will ask, and I don't know if you've seen it, Si, I don't know if people saw it in the group, was Charlie Austin. Charlie Austin came on the second half, and he had a little flashpoint with I think it was Hall from Middlesbrough centre defender, and people say he headbutted him. I thought he ran into him, but I've watched it about 50 times, and I can't. I'm not going to say he did because I don't think he's that kind of player. And with the way that the Middlesbrough player got up, I think it's the difficult one to define if he did that on purpose. But for me, you know what I mean, I've had loads of people ask me the same question. You know what I mean? Should he be punished retrospectively? And for me, the answer is no.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't think there was much in it. I can see why people are kind of, but it's like everyone wants to make like a big deal of everything, and I don't think you need to retrospectively do anything with that.
Well, that's one thing, Si. We were speaking about Cardiff and we're speaking about, you know what I mean, Peterborough. And for me, it happened on the pitch. The referee could have seen it, or will have saw it. The linesman, the referee gave a free kick, so he saw something. And if he saw something, he would have done it. He would have given the punishment he deserves. But for me, he give a free kick and you move on.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, mate. I got to be honest. So, for me, I wanted to ask you, Middlesbrough, mate. You were predicted at the start of the season, that you thought they'd, improve on last year, go maybe one better. Are you worried by some of the things you're seeing?
I'm going 2 ways. So I'm going to answer this question in 2 different ways. Do I stand by my decision that Middlesbrough are going to finish better than they did last year? I don't think they will on current form from what I'm watching. But I'm excited for what I'm watching because it's like watching Newcastle years ago under Kevin Keegan that we just seem to attack. And this is my point about Neil's sides. Neil Warnock, in my knowledge, and all the Cardiff fans will probably back me up here, is not an expansive football manager. He likes to make things tight. Where at the minute, Middlesbrough are attacking, and then they're defending, and then they're attacking. It's like a boxing match, you know what I mean? It's like who gets knocked out first. It's great. And I probably won't be saying that if they're fighting a relegation battle, but if they can just tweak a few things around, I'm not sure where the right areas to do. Listen, he's the expert, but if I was a neutral watching the game on Wednesday, it was probably one of the best games I've seen. So, you know what I mean? As a football fan, it was brilliant. As a Middlesbrough fan, it was awful, but awful in terms of results. But excitement. You know what I mean? You're getting your value for money being a Middlesbrough fan again, which I used to say that about being a QPR fan last year. They're getting the value for money. Middlesbrough fans have never had the value for money, probably since Brian Robson, Steve McLaren. So, you know what I mean? So now they're certainly getting it. I don't know if that's a good thing, but they're certainly getting the value for money. Yeah,
I think that's that, Mitch. At the end of the day, first and foremost, you want to enjoy your football, don't you? So
maybe Neil's chilled out a little bit due to COVID, and he's happy to entertain. He's turned it into a new manager. You never know.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't think so. But I saw some referees have been. They don't like the way he confronts referees and stuff.
Listen, Neil didn't change his attitude after the game when he came on the pitch to berate the referee. So certain things haven't changed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So the game I'd like to talk about, I know, Guy, maybe people will get non-Cardiff and Borough fans might get a little bit frustrated because you talked about Borough and I want to talk, but I've got to talk about Peterborough and Cardiff because Peterborough were 2-0 up. They deserved to be 2-0 up, I thought. I thought they were really good.
I thought they were good. Second half especially, I thought they were really good.
Sakiri Dembele, he really impressed me. I've got to be honest. I thought he did a fantastic job throughout. Cardiff have got a few issues, I think, but ultimately, I think generally that formation is working for him. But I thought Peterborough dealt with Cardiff's formation pretty well. They matched them up, and like I said, Dembele was good up front. Peterborough, Burrows, I thought in the hole in the number 10 position, I thought was really good. I thought he was exceptional actually. But Cardiff showed tremendous balls, whatever you want to call it, just fight. You know, at 83 minutes, it was 2-0. By the 96th minute, it's 2-2. You know, Aidan Flint, I thought was exceptional all game, by the way. But then to top that performance off with 2 goals, even better. And by the way, Aidan Flint was not everybody's first choice as Cardiff centre-back going back a while. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for his performances, but also getting himself in good shape, getting himself fit and performing consistently. Deserves that.
You got to remember, Si, when he first signed, he was shipped out to Sheffield Wednesday more or less straight away because he wasn't the manager's first choice to get in the 2 and on the bench. So he was shipped out there. He didn't have a great time there. He pulled his hamstring very early, and came back and hit the ground running straight away with Cardiff. He got the winning goal against Swansea, and he's been loved ever since. So it's fine moments in people's careers and defining moments, because I think his Cardiff City career got kick-started with a goal against Swansea.
Yes, and 2 things I'll add as well. Marlon Pack missed another sitter. So he missed a sitter on the opening, 2 sitters on the opening day, missed another one on Tuesday. Look, I'm not blaming Marlon Pack by any means, but if he scores that, it's 3-2 technically. Same with, you know, the game on the first game of the season, they're going to win instead of drawing. They are costly. A player at this level should be scoring them, particularly a midfield player. And the other thing I'd add, go on.
I would like to ask your opinion on team selection. And did Mick get his team selection right? Because obviously he went with the same starting 11 he did against Blackpool. The Blackpool game is such a different game. It's a difficult game. You know, I think you've got to mix things. You've got to, mate. For me, and I've said it all along. I'm not. Keeper is not king, but for me, he's the best centre forward. And for me, you've got to play your best centre forward. And you know, if someone's scoring 3 goals, then maybe I keep him out. But you know what I mean? He didn't. That didn't happen. So for me, you've got to stick him in.
James Collins isn't scoring. Also, even if Kiefer Moore can only play an hour because he's recovering from COVID and injuries and whatever, he can play an hour. Play him for an hour and then bring on Collins for the final push. He'd be the one change I'd probably make. Look, Marlon Pack is doing pretty well, other than when he's in a goal scoring position. One player who's been absolutely outstanding for Cardiff City already this season is Ryan Giles. What a player!
Everyone's saying good things. I thought towards the game, I thought the end of the Peterborough game, I thought he was excellent. He put some really dangerous crosses in from nowhere, and that's what Cardiff City needed at the time to give the players some inspiration. I've got to give the goalkeeper a huge pat on the back for his part in the second goal, because he battled to win the ball, to put it wide. Because if he hadn't done that, then Cardiff wouldn't have got the recycled ball to put the ball in the box. I think it was a huge moment in that game, because if Peterborough had broke away, potentially it's another goal and the game's put to bed. But I think to be still unbeaten from the position that they were in, and they've had 2 away games as well against 2 tricky promoted sides, I think you'd be quietly happy that you've come unscathed, really.
Well, here's a question for you then, mate. I think it was Geraint said, until Cardiff City get a playmaker to run the midfield, they're going to struggle. I kind of agree with that because I just think we have got a lack of creativity and nous from those slightly deeper positions. But I also think that's why we've changed the formation slightly. Yes, it's to accommodate the two wing backs and the three centre backs, of course it is. But also I think it's because we haven't got an out-and-out attacking central midfielder or a number 10. So we've got to use Giles and Bakuna either side. I don't think Bakuna is a wide forward player either. I think he's more suited to being in central midfield. Like I said, Ryan Giles being superb. I'd like to see maybe a Colwell or a Sang or a Murphy get a chance where Bakuna's playing. I think I'd really like to see Murphy back in. Give him I said this last year. Give him a run of games, and he will get a bit of momentum going and a bit of confidence, and he will. He'll put the ball in the box. And I think Kelly just said there, if Kiefer Moore plays, he'll get on the end of Ryan Giles' crosses. So if you put Ryan Giles on one side and Murphy on the other side, Kiefer Moore in the middle. There's common sense to me, but what do I know? So I'll be interested on your take if Cardiff need that number 10 or attacking midfielder or creative midfielder, and also the people in the chat as well.
Listen, I'd like to see something sometimes out of the ordinary. If that's two centre forwards up top together, you know what I mean? For me, imagine Kiefer Moore and James Collins together. You know what I mean? They would both frighten defences to death. But then you'd need wingers to put balls in the box for them. That's crosses from deep or quality balls. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can afford to do it. You know what I mean? If you can get good quality balls forward, you've got more chances to score with those two centre forwards in there. It's just, but I totally agree. In order for Cardiff to create more chances and score more goals, you need that link and that 10 to play behind or somebody closer. In an ideal world, I'd have a faster centre forward up front with a target man, somebody to run the channels to take the pressure off the big fella. Have they got that?
That's why James Collins is a weird sign, isn't it?
Harris is probably your closest. There's talk of him going out on loan. I think it'd be a disaster if he did. Do they need another body in? Possibly. Probably the strangest thing of the last 10 days was the lad who signed in time to play in the cup game, Marley. I can't remember what his surname is. Apologies. And he didn't.
Marley what? No, what's his name? I've forgotten.
I can't remember what it's called. And he didn't score. You know what I mean? So it's Marley Watkins. Yeah. I don't get why he was given a contract and then he's not there. It was very strange indeed. Because was he the answer? He seemed to do enough in the game that he played. So surely he probably warranted another opportunity. I just found it a very strange one. Unless it was an individual choice that a move came around for him to go somewhere else. He's going to sign for a different club. I just found it very strange.
Yeah. So apparently Marley Watkins has been released, and Mark Harris is now staying and not going out on loan. Is what the people in the chat are saying, and I believe that because they keep up to date more with the Cardiff news. They're on social media and things like this. You got Vassell in the reserves, but my point is they haven't got a different option other than Mark Harris. So I agree with you. You cannot send him out on loan because this is why the James Collins signing didn't make any sense to me, because he's so similar to he's so similar to Kiefer Moore, but not as good all round, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. Okay. So I wanted to just kind of talk about generally, mate, about some performances over the weekend. Who stood out for you?
Over the course of the week, it had to be probably there was three really over the course of the week: Fulham, Bournemouth, and West Brom. I think they've just they've got the squads, they've got the players, and was I surprised they stood out? No. Do I think that they're going to run away a little bit? I do fear, because I just think the squads they've got with a Gary Cahill stand as well, the way that Mitrovic can score goals, the way that West Brom have started, they just look so strong, and I just fear for everybody else, because it does seem that there's a gulf in not club size, because that's disrespectful to everyone else. I probably mean in the budget size, and what clubs are able to do because of COVID. And obviously Fulham have come down, so they've got parachute money. Bournemouth have still got parachute money from the year before. West Brom have just come down, so they've got parachute money, and it's that gulf does make it a little bit unfair sometimes to take.
Yeah. Sam Baldock scored for Derby County and to beat Hull City. That stood out for me because even Sam Baldock, I'm not sure how old he is now. He's not young, but he's a goal scorer, mate. And the fact is, if he's fit and they create chances, he will score goals. Ravel Morrison created a couple of chances, looked pretty tidy and good to see. Obviously, need to see more from him. There was a boy, I've forgotten his name, who plays for QPR. I think it's the number 10.
Is it Chen?
Yeah, I think that's his name. He was phenomenal. Really exciting.
I was quite surprised that a Premier League club didn't have a look at him in the summer, because I thought he finished the season really well. But now, you know what I mean. In QPR over the last probably 5, 6, 7 years of probably a selling club a little bit, and if they can keep hold of him, they'll have a really good season.
Absolutely. James McLean left Stoke, but look, Stoke City have started very well. I've watched quite a bit of them. They played Swansea off the park on Tuesday completely. They drew with Birmingham, which is the anomaly. They beat Fleetwood in the EFL Cup, and they've beaten Reading, but they've looked like we expected them to look two seasons ago with the squad they've got. Sam Clucas, by the way.
I agree. And one thing I will say about Sam Clucas is and this team's as well, I'm picking on Swansea as well because it was against them, but any player who scores for his club deserves to celebrate. He celebrated in the way that he wanted to celebrate. Do I believe he took it a little bit too far, taking the shirt off and doing it for the Swansea fans? Possibly. But he's a very passionate footballer, so you know what I mean. Was it worth a yellow card scoring a goal? Listen, every game's worth a yellow card scoring a goal because it's an amazing feeling. So, but you know what I mean. He did something at the time which he thought was right.
I think we got to understand as well is he's taken a lot of abuse from Swansea fans. So, and he would have got a lot of pelters during the game in the build up to the goal. So, of course, it's human nature to defend yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't have a problem when, not just because it's Swansea, but players of any teams, if they choose to celebrate their goals, and particularly if they're getting pelters, then why shouldn't they give it back? Blackburn again, mate, as well. I thought were very good this week.
Listen, they've got young players. It's going to be a test for them if they can sustain it. It's a big season for Daniel Ayala to be a stalwart and to help those young lads through the season. But he's capable because he's a serial promotion winner. He's done it before. He'll do it. I'm sure he can do it again.
Absolutely, mate. So we got our next up is our 2 ups, 2 downs, mate. Okay, so people in the chat, let us know 2 ups for the week, 2 downs for the week from the Sky Bet Championship. What would you like to start with, Andy? Down or up?
Let's start with the negatives because I think it's only right that we can finish on a positive.
Okay, mate. Right, there was a few this week. This was probably one of the easiest weeks for a while to pick some.
Yeah, there was loads. There was quite a few.
I normally struggle to get a downs, so I got a few. I got 3 this week in case me and you picked the same ones. So who's your first down, mate?
I'm going to get it in just in case you pick it. I'm going to go to Mr. Bramall from the referee of the Cardiff Peterborough game because I think he got the huge decision wrong at the start with a tackle, and I think it created the atmosphere, especially towards the end of the first half. And for me, it wasn't needed. So for me, I think he got the tackle wrong, and it could have been avoided.
Yeah, I had that one, but I've got another one as well. So I'm going to go Harry Wilson's red card. Was silly, petulant, let his side down, let himself down, and is what it is. You learn from it.
Yeah, my second down is Middlesbrough goalkeeper Lumley. I don't know if people saw the third goal for QPR, near post. Listen, I was probably thinking about adding the defender in as well for letting him get the shot away, but he's let him get his shot away because there's no way in the world he's scoring unless it goes through the goalkeeper. And unfortunately, it went through him. I think the jury's out. I think Middlesbrough fans aren't quietly confident on how he's performing, and he's got if he plays tomorrow at Derby, it's a big game for him.
Indeed, mate. So my second down, and something I'm sorry to say, is Marlon Pack's sitter. Look, his third win of the season already, and costly. Got to be better. But I will caveat that with saying Marlon Pack has been very, very good this year, but he needs to work on his finishing.
That's something because I was going to add it on earlier on, but I didn't get it in. That one thing what's pleasing for me at the minute side is Cardiff's midfielders are creating chances. You've got Pacuna missed 2 in the first game, 1 in the second. Pack's missed 1 in the second game, 1 in this game. I think it's pleasing that they're getting there, but I think someone with an attacking mind, with a little bit more composure, would probably score in those moments. Lee Tomlin would score in those moments.
Yeah, Tomlin's. Cardiff have to get either Lee Tomlin fit, or they have to sign an alternative, in my opinion, because that's the one player they just don't have. Okay, ups, mate. Who you got?
I'm going to steal yours. I'm going to go Aidan Flint. His 2 goals speak for himself. He single-handedly, for me, saved Cardiff City on
both
Tuesday, because I thought defensively he was very good, even though they let 2 goals in. I thought he was a standout of the 3 centre-halves. And his 2 goals were excellent, because without those 2 goals and the way he put his head in, which many players wouldn't put the feet in, by the way, I think he just shows how much and how important he is for Cardiff City.
All right, mate. So I've got to go with Moet of West Brom. Just phenomenal in both games, all games. Just honestly, mate, real player. But yeah, I gone with him. Superb. And who's your second up?
My second up, I've gone for Alexander Mitrovic. I was going to pick.
You gave him loads of grief last week, didn't you?
Yeah, I know. But he's turned up the party now. I thought Saturday was excellent against Middlesbrough. He just didn't look like he fancied it. But I don't know if that was I'll put him on probably the same scale as Harry Kane. That Harry Kane didn't fancy the first couple of games in the Euros, and then all of a sudden he started playing well. I thought he was excellent. So I've got to give credit where credit's due. As Swansea City have just scored, by the way, they've just taken the lead of Bristol City.
Well done. Well done to them. My second up is Ryan Giles. just because they are super. Yeah, Ryan Giles superb.
He is. As I said, Si, about his crossing. Some of the balls that he got in from the corner flag. That's how deep it was. He didn't just swing it and hope for the best. He got it in and on a sixpence for a couple of players. There was one where he dug it out the corner flag and he put it into Kiefer Mooney, and Kiefer ended up heading it in the air and then heading it again. And it just shows how much ability he's got. And Cardiff have always been successful when they've had wingers and good wingers playing for them. And if he can keep putting balls in like that, they'll score more goals.
100%, mate. That's what I was going to say to you. One person who I thought was excellent for Nottingham Forest was Colback the other day. Really, really good player. Could be a player for Forest this year, I think.
Yeah.
But we will see, mate. We will see. Bit of a Middlesbrough and Cardiff heavy show this week, but that won't be the case all the time. It's just the way
listen.
By the way, Peterborough United took a lot of the credit.
And so did QPR. Listen, I've been very critical of QPR over the last 2 or 3 seasons. I watched them 5 years ago, and they were one of the worst teams I've ever seen on the Riverside. You know what I mean? On Wednesday night, they were one of the best teams I've seen in the Riverside. So you've got to take credit where credit's due, because I was there to see the game. It's easy for me to make an opinion on it, and it's not all positive with Middlesbrough. It's not all positive with Cardiff. It just is what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Was that about me? I thought that was about me. Great championship.
Average, mate. Average.
Right though. If that's about me, that's bang on. That's about me. That's right.
No, he was not about
great championship player.
Mitrovic. Average, he said about you. So yeah, that's the championship for this week. Obviously, we'll be back next Friday to talk about more. There was a question somewhere and I can't find it.
Leslie also asked us to say hello to one of his friends in Scotland. Can't remember what he's called.
James. I did.
Hello, James.
Welcome, James.
Get loads of Rangers fans to come watch the show, please.
I know, that's it. Now he's a Rangers fan. What's the boy who went to Rangers, which we were talking about earlier from the Championship? Bakuna from Huddersfield gone to Rangers. That'll be interesting to see how he gets on, mate, I think.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, obviously we got the show on Monday. We got the one and the only David Wheater, ex Middlesbrough, ex Bolton Wanderers, ex Oldham Athletic defender. Great lad, great laugh. He'll have loads of stories. I am conscious, by the way, that Cardiff City are playing, so any Cardiff fan who doesn't watch the show will not be allowed to watch
playing
again.
On Monday, are they? Mate?
Oh, they were, yeah.
No, they're not. They're playing Saturday.
No, they're playing Brighton. Yeah.
Not according to the fixtures, which I was just looking at.
No, it's Tuesday. Sorry, I apologise. Sorry.
You confused me so much when you texted me that.
Sorry, that's my fault. I must have read something wrong.
But yeah, so David Wheat is going to be a classic, mate. I'm really looking forward to it.
He is. He's got some great stories. He's a very confident lad. Obviously, those who live in northeast areas, there's a new David Wheater burger being put in one of the local pubs. So I'll let him tell the story so you can go and sample it. But it looks very funny, very good. So.
Good shout, mate. I'm back on Sunday with the MMA and boxing show. We have a special guest, which hasn't been announced yet because it's a good one. But I also spoke to one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the history of MMA today, and Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, which is an exclusive interview coming out next week, which was a massive get for me. I was very, very happy to have that, and he did not disappoint. As I said to Andy before the show, Andy's not fully up to speed on all things MMA. I said basically he's the equivalent of Messi or Ronaldo in the UFC flyweight division. So yeah, very, very exciting. But we'll be back Sunday, then we'll be back Monday, and lots of interesting things to go. Come and see. Please subscribe to the.
I think he might have gone. Guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.
He just disappeared. I don't know what happened.
Sorry, I was saying goodbye for everyone. I didn't know you'd come back. There you go.
Subscribe, youtube.com/AcePodcastNation. Check out Sports Social. Also, please do download the audio version. That really helps us a lot. Cheers, guys.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.